Good evening, probably evening, right? And welcome back to Mr. Badge's going over the CNC PracticeIts. Do you feel like this thing on screen right now? Get off your cell phone. Get off your keyboard. And let's do some PracticeIts. Okay, we're in Unit 5 now, and that means Chapter 8 in the book. So we're going to do together self-check 8.10 distance point, at least the setup part anyway, because there's something new in here that's a little bit mysterious. Okay, it says that what we want to do is add the following method to the point class. If you haven't already read a little bit about the point class, it's in the book in Chapter 8, and you can read a little bit of the details of it. The main thing is that a point class is a class that models a point. And what do you need to have a point in a two-dimensional world? You need an X and a Y. So that's what the point class has for instance fields. It has two X and Y doubles. Now, this distance method, you'll notice, takes one point as an explicit parameter called other, and then it's going to return a double here. But in the description, it says that it returns the distance between the current point object and the given other point object. So this other point object is here, but where do we get the current point object from? Now, to see that, we're going to look at what might happen in client code. So this isn't the solution, but what would happen in client code? And what could happen is you could have a point, let's call it point left, equals new, call the constructor, point, and we give it some coordinates. So 1, 1, very creative. And then we're going to have a second point if we want to find the distance between 2 points. And we say point right equals, again, new point. We got to construct another point, and that's 2, 2, maybe, or whatever. Very creative. Well, when we call the distance function on these points, you can see, again, explicit parameter, but remember there's also implicit parameters, and there's that thing called dot notation. So if we have object dot method like that, this before the dot is the implicit parameter, and then explicitly we have to mention another point there. So we've got 2 points, the implicit parameter point and the explicit parameter point. The explicit parameter point, boom, we see it there. The implicit one we don't really see here because of the dot notation. So the question is, in our code, how do we refer to the 2 points? And the way to do that is that if we say other.x, or if we say other.y, in our code, not the client code, that's going to be how we access the other point. For the left point, the implicit parameter, we have to use a keyword called this. See it lit up? This dot x and this dot y will refer to the x and y. Well, I said they were doubles. They're actually integers. The x and y integers that are fields in the current object, the implied parameter from the dot notation. Left dot distance, parentheses, right. Okay? So this will be the right one, and this will be the left one, even though I put them in a different order. Okay? Now, the question is, how do we actually calculate distance? And you may remember this from math class. The distance between 2 points is equal to the square root of the sum of the squares of the differences of their x's and y coordinates. The square root of, the sum of, the squares of, the differences of the x's and the y's. In other words, the distance between the 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, can be expressed as the square root of that. So we've got to convert that into a Java version of this mathematical formula. Okay? So we'll grab the header. We'll put that in our code. We would need a set of brackets, of course. Remember, things like our accessors and mutators in classes like this don't require a lot of code. What do we have to do? We have to do a formula, and then we got to send the value back as a double. We can do that all in a single return statement. Now, I'm not going to write the whole thing for you. You have to figure it out using all your math operators and maybe some math functions. But remember, we're going to be using this dot x and this dot y somewhere in there, and we're going to be using other dot x and other dot y somewhere in that formula. That's all I'm going to tell you for now. The rest is up to you. Thank you.